Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So guys, in today's video I'll be sharing with you how to sew a corset with sleeve. And as you can see, I have already drafted on my patterns, and when cutting on my fabric I added half an inch all around for my corset cuffs, and also added half an inch at the top and bottom part of my pattern paper. So I will use this now to cut out my lining piece, and after that I'll be using the air stay on the actual fabric and the gum stay on the lining piece. So now I'm done with adding my interfacing to my actual fabric and my lining piece. The next thing I will do now is to create my bone casing, and over here I'm just going to fold my front pattern into two to find the midpoint of my front pattern, and then mark the 2 points, and also use my ruler to make a straight line, and then place my bias tape on that line, and also use my pin to keep it in place just so that it doesn't move away from the line that I made, and also create 2 more lines at the right side and 2 more lines at the left side. So I'm just going to repeat what I did for the first line. I'm just going to place my bias tape on the line and then cut it off at the end. Do the same for the other side. Make sure to pin your bias tape to your fabric just to keep it in place so that it doesn't move away from the line that you created. Now you will do the same thing for the back piece. So guys, for my back piece, I'm just going to mark out my zipper allowance, which is 1.5 inches. And after marking out my zipper allowance, which is 1.5 inches, I'm going to use my ruler to draw a straight line and then mark 3.5 inches from the line. This is because I have just one piece as my back pattern for the both sides. So I'm just going to minus half an inch from my bust span, which is 4 inches minus half an inch is 3.5 inches. So that's why I marked 3.5 inches at my back pattern. Now I'm just going to place my bias tape on the line that I made and then use my pin to keep it in place, and also cut off the excesses I have at the end. So I'm just going to head over to my sewing machine and sew my boning casing, and this is what I had when I was done sewing. Now I'm just going to head over to making my corset cuffs. So I'm going to start by joining the curved side of my corset cuffs by half of an inch, and I'm just going to open it up and do the same thing for the second piece. And after that, make notches around the curved parts, open it up and give it a good press with my pressing iron. I'm going to repeat the same process for my lining piece, and after doing that I'll be joining the curves to the front pattern by just half of an inch, like so. Now after doing that, this is what I have, and now I'm just going to make notches around the cuffs. So guys, the next thing I'll do now is to add my ready-made cuffs to my corset blouse, and I'll be using a size 44 for this because I want my cuff to reach the peak of my blouse. So I'm just going to make very simple dots at the center of this cuff, just like this. You should do the same for yours, and when you're done you will have your cup looking like this. So now the next thing I'll do now is to arrange my cup to sit perfectly inside the blouse. I'm just going to take my time to do this because I want this cup to sit perfectly inside my corset blouse. And when I'm done, arranging this properly, I'm just going to sew round the cup and also use my hemming gum to make sure that they are in place. And now it's now time to fix in my boning into my boning casing. Now when fixing this, I'm just going to leave half of an inch at the neckline and also half of an inch at the bottom of my blouse. This is just to make sure I don't sew on my boning. So you should do the same for yours. Leave out half of an inch at the neckline and also half of an inch at the bottom of your blouse. Do the same for the back piece and iron it out. Now the next thing is to cut out my sleeve. Now I have a width of 19 inches and a length of 36 inches. I also have the smaller pieces of a width of 4 inches and a length of 9 inches. So I'm just going to fold this into two and sew at half of an inch for both pieces. And for this main sleeve, I'm just going to fold in half of an inch on one side and 0.7 inch on the other side. So one side is going to be folded at half of an inch and the other side at 0.7 inch. So now it's now time to join my lining piece to my actual fabric. But first of all, I'm going to work on the neckline. I'm just going to sew at half of an inch, turn it over to the wrong side and also sew at half of an inch towards the lining piece. And when I'm done with that, I'm just going to sew the sides at half of an inch and also the end of this blouse at half of an inch. I'm also going to repeat the process for my two back pieces. Please note that you'll be joining your lining piece to your actual fabric at half of an inch all round except the armhole. So guys, the next thing I'll do now is to mark out the armhole on my sleeve. I'm just going to fold in my front pattern and then mark 5 inches as my neck width, which is my bust span plus 1 inch, which is 5 inches as my neck width. And I'm just going to cut out the excesses I have on the neckline and also connect it down to the armhole. I'm going to be reducing the armhole by just 1 inch. Now I'm just going to place the armhole area on my sleeve and just trace it out. And after that, I'm just going to cut out the excesses I have on the sleeve, just like that. So I'm going to be marking out my second elastic case, which is 11 inches downwards. And I'm going to be running my elastic thread on that line that I just made on both pieces of my sleeve. While on my sewing machine, I'm just going to also fix my zipper on my back pattern. So guys, when I was done with that, I had to turn the front and the back piece to the right side and you can see how beautiful they look. Now it's time to fix my elastic into my elastic casing at the beginning of my sleeve where I folded at 0.7 inches. Now what you will do is to measure your total armhole length and minus 5 inches from that and cut out your elastic and also use that to fix into your elastic casing. So now I'm done fixing my elastic into my elastic casing. I'm just going to fix my sleeve to my blouse at 1/2 inch on the front pattern and also 1/2 inch at the back pattern. I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm just going to fix at 1/2 inch on both sides. After joining my sleeve to my blouse, I'm just going to head over to my sewing machine and sew at 1/2 inch on both sides of the armhole. After joining my sleeve, this is what I have. So the next thing I will do now is to fix this smaller piece from my front neckline to my sleeve, and also mark 1.5 inches that I gave as my sewing allowance, and just sew at 1.5 inches on my blouse. So guys, this is the final look of my corset blouse with sleeve, and you can see how beautiful it looks. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. See you in my next video. Bye.